Hey, Bunker Labs, welcome to the All In campaign. We are putting together this series of interviews because we are all in for you to learn from other entrepreneurs and to highlight and elevate other entrepreneurs that are responding to COVID-19 right now that are in our network and our community. So today I am really excited to welcome our guest, Kimberly Jung from the MIT Event Project. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hi, great to be here.
So before we kick it off and get into the details of what you are doing in response to COVID, just give a little bit of an introduction to yourself, background, and how you're involved with Bunker Labs.
I was in the Army from 2008 to 2013. I was an engineer officer and was stationed in Germany and deployed to Afghanistan in 2010, 2011 as a route clearance platoon leader. So we were for the non-veterans out there, it was roadside bombs and also an engineer construction platoon leader at some point. So I graduated, or I'm sorry, I haven't had much sleep in the last 3 weeks.
And we're going to get to why that is too.
Yeah. So I went to business school and then started a company called Rumi Spice, and around the same time Bunker Labs started. And so we import saffron directly from Afghan farmers. We're the largest private employer of Afghan women. We had this amazing stint on Shark Tank that was really exciting, and we reached national with Whole Foods. I was actually at the grocery store today or yesterday, and saw that all of our products are off the shelf. Like there was only one left, which makes me really happy actually. So anyway, the way I'm connected with Bunker Labs is I'm currently one of the directors, so I'm on the board, and we're one of the early bunker companies. So Rumi Spice, I think we were a company of the year at some point, which is a great honor. But we've been able to see the different programming that Bunker Labs has to offer, and has been, given a lot of expertise from other people who have given so much to us at Rumi Spice, and we want to just pass it along. And any advice that I can give about being a veteran in the entrepreneurship space, I would love to.
That's great. And I'm also going to drop a link actually to Kimberly's first kind of stories, which highlights Rumi Spice below, so you can check that out. But today I really want to talk to you about another project that you're working on at MIT, the Event Project, which is specifically very relevant right now. Can you tell us about that project and the timeline of the project and how that's changing right now in response to our current outbreak?
Absolutely. So the MIT Event, which stands for Emergency Ventilator Team, we formed about 3 weeks ago under the founding auspices of Professor Alexander Slocum, who's a professor of mechanical engineering at MIT, and he was my PI, so he was my professor last year. So he's a brilliant precision machine design guy, so he started to CAD up a model and start the initial design process. And then now we have a really amazing team. Here, I can kind of turn the camera a little bit. There's just 2 people on the team over here. That's Shakti. There's Mike in the back, and that's David. Yeah, hey! Bunker Labs. So we call ourselves a band of benevolent nerds. All of us are volunteering our time. And honestly, it's been really great to be able to do this in a time of, all of us are in quarantine, but we've been working just here with us, and we're able to put our engineering skills together and create, we're working hard towards being able to scale, we're not scaling, but, ventilators to save lives. In any case, MIT has done a lot of work on the research and development side, fleshing out the clinical requirements and working closely with clinicians. And it's actually to the point where we are actually referenced with our website and our clinical specifications on the latest FDA emergency use authorization. Well, that's a handful, or a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Emergency use authorization. That's really great. And it's honestly been kind of the whole thing, because this is all compressed in what normally would be a year compressed to a month of development and basically new product design and manufacturing. We have to work with manufacturers, and they're the ones who are actually scaling up the device. So as you can imagine, a lot of the part sourcing and figuring out the exact specifications, figuring out the controls, PCBing, the electrical, which used to, it's a bunch of wires put together over here, right? But now, like when you create something that's manufacturable, it's a different story. In addition to that, we've done a bunch of pig trials. So our device has kept a pig alive for many hours. And, I've also been able to, go to the hospitals to test it, and we have human trials coming up soon. So super exciting. But also, like, we definitely feel, we know that there's a huge need for them. People are dying, especially, one of our partners or not partners, but the manufacturers that we've been working with in New York are facing, so much shortage in New York, and they're looking for 30,000 ventilators in the next week or so. So it's a changing, rapid situation. I mean, the FDA is also a changing, rapid, their targets have changed and the timelines have changed. So it's really hard to nail down timelines and sources and supplies and pressure sensors that we've reached the total global supply for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and something that's interesting to me, and being a military veteran, that part of service, that part of being able to lend a hand, with your skills and competencies, very specific right now, to what the situation is and to a crisis, essentially, specifically as we're referencing New York. So how do you think that just that source of innovation and those competencies, for you, walking us through just volunteering to do that, working on a small team, getting it done, and maybe how other entrepreneurs can apply that same mindset to their own efforts right now?
I can't stress enough how my military training has really helped this project, because the military has a very, we're basically in emergency mode when we're deployed. So you have, for example, critical information requirements for the commander, CCIR, or you have even just a simple thing as duties and responsibilities and a chain of command, which is something that the academic world just doesn't even think about. And you don't realize how important these things are to moving a team quickly, efficiently, so that we are, we're like a well-greased machine, and having to convince other people that this is the right way to do it. And even, the modes of communication, CCing people on emails is not the way for situational awareness, right? Like, how do you get everybody on the same page? Who calls the shots? Who's making decisions? How are we making decisions? All of these things you kind of learn and you take for granted in the military, but are super helpful and useful in real world situations, where you're rapidly prototyping for a new product, for example, or you're in a situation where you're doing emergency response. So in times like these, the military training that veterans have had and the ability to keep calm in stressful situations is absolutely key and essential to mission success.
And part of that, thinking too, as you were talking before about the FDA, is that, these large organizations, sometimes federal organizations that are in regulations, are also having to innovate and change their decision making and speed it up for the necessary things. Can you also speak to the experience of that, like coming from the military, which is a large federal organization, and now you really are dealing with a federal organization allowing your product and rapid innovations to become available for those who need it. So is that communication and also the knowledge of how those things work helping you?
So I personally haven't had any direct contact with the FDA. It's through some of the other consultants that we've been working with, but I do want to call out some of these. So the Air Force and the Navy, both, I think one is the Agile Combat Defense Center or something like that, from the Air Force, is partnering us to give us a grant, at MIT. And, I'm actually really impressed with the way that, they're moving really quickly and responding to this crisis and lining up manufacturers that they, contracting that they already deal with. and working with the right people. So I've been really impressed with the Navy and the Air Force. I unfortunately haven't been able to go out to the Army, which is, my own, or they haven't come to me really. I don't know. But I've been really impressed with the level of response that I've seen from the military and the DoD. FDA, one of the things that, for example, it would be really nice to have some clarification if, the president just ordered, I think a week or a week and a half ago, that GE or GM manufacture ventilators for the country. I think I think GE is ISO 13485 certified, which is basically like you're able to produce medical devices. But one thing that the FDA hasn't clarified is that if you're a car manufacturer, and there are definitely parts that they can put towards ventilator production, or they can try to make ventilators themselves based on MIT's event design. Can they even do that because they're not ISO 13485 certified? Or maybe they can just be part of the supply chain. Anyway, these are examples of regulatory pitfalls, I would say, that or lack of guidance that is causing all of this to slow down. So just remember this, military people and veterans, like, you guys know like what it means to get stuff done when people need it most and make decisions quickly, even if you don't have 100% of the information, because people's lives are on the line right now and people are dying.
I think that's a great point too, of, the clarification. We've actually been talking a lot about that. And I'm glad you bring that up as part of our all in. We've been bringing, people in from different organizations, even with the CARE Stimulus Act, we've been talking a lot about clarification. So I think that's a great point, because it sounds like your team is also just moving fast because of the need and because of, necessity of bringing this to market. So to speak, so that healthcare workers will have ventilators. So, before we wrap up, Kimberly, my ask of you is just that, how can we help? How can we support your efforts as a Bunker Labs, as a veteran, military connected community? And hopefully you will keep us updated so that we can help later on as well.
Yeah, one of my West Point classmates has a direct contact to FEMA, and FEMA might be, maybe I'm going to loop them into like whatever, the direct relationship that's most appropriate. But that kind of stuff is super helpful. We're looking for manufacturers that can manufacture on the order of thousands of ventilators, and specifically medical device companies. Also looking for funding, as always. If you visit our website and you go to team, you can donate to us. It's directly to MIT and to the MIT event team, and it's a nonprofit donation. And the last thing is just like, everyone stay safe and stay happy and healthy, and make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them.
Thank you, Kimberly, so much for your time. And we are wishing you the best of luck, and you have the full support of Bunker Labs behind you. Absolutely. So keep us updated. Let us know how we can support.
Thanks so much, Liz.